This presentation will show you how to add your DNA matches from MyHeritage to a DNA Painter profile. First, some general guidelines. You'd want to start with a closely related known cousin. This makes it easy to know because you know if the match is paternal or maternal. You can use your pedigree tree in DNA Painter to find your most recent common ancestor or ancestor couple to this known match. And then you can use shared matches to that known cousin to add to your profile as well. Some more guidelines. If your parents or full siblings have done DNA tested, you don't want to add them to your profile. You got all of your maternal DNA from your mother, so painting her on your profile will not help anything. But you can use matches to your parents or to half-siblings to help you identify the side of the family. For example, if you have a match that your mother also has, you would know that that person is on the maternal side of your family. Whereas if you have a match and your mother does not, you would know that the match has to be paternal. If you had a half-sibling and you share a father with the sibling, any matches that both you and your half-sibling have would have to be on your paternal side. The larger the total centimorgans shared, the more closely related the match is. Second cousin, third cousin, things like that. As the total centimorgans get smaller, the relationship is much more distant, and it can get to the point of being outside of the genealogical time frame where you're be unlikely to find that common ancestor. You also don't want to use matches centimorgan values that are less than 7 centimorgans. Even at 7, there's a chance that there's a false match. So I'm going to log into MyHeritage, and I go to my DNA matches, and here's my list. All living people's names have been hidden for privacy reasons. So the second match here I'm going to call Anne, and it says she's my first cousin twice removed or my second cousin once removed. Well, I know Anne is my second cousin once removed, so they've gotten that information correctly. So I'm going to look at my family tree, the pedigree from DNA Painter, and locate the common ancestor we have. Anne is a second cousin once removed, and she and I share my mother's mother's parents, Jacob Wolfe and Anna Marie Brill. They're my great-grandparents and her second great-grandparents. Going back to MyHeritage, looking at the match with Anne, I'm going to click on Review DNA Match. And that brings up this page, which is the shared match list for Anne and me. There's a lot of information given here. It tells that the relationship for this first person is a third or fourth cousin to me, but a third to more distant cousin to Anne. It gives the amount of DNA that the person shares with me and also the amount he shares with Anne. If we look down the page to the third match that I've named Joe, you'll see this little symbol over here on the right that I've also circled. Looks a little bit like an oval with a couple of purple lines in it. And that symbol tells us that Joe, Anne, and I all match on the same segment of the same chromosome. That's called triangulation, and it typically means that we share a common ancestor. Now, if I click on that little oval shape there, I get the chromosome browser shown here, and they've added both Anne and Joe into it. Anne is the red color that's shown at the top of the box that says Anne and me, and mustard color is for Joe. It shows that Anne and I share 215 centimorgans over 11 segments, and Joe and I share 18 centimorgans over 2 segments. And if we look at chromosome 2, the red bar is Anne's and the mustard bar is for Joe. There's also an oval around them, and that is showing where we triangulate, the segment that we three have in common. If I scroll down to the bottom of the chromosome browser and press the button to get the table, Here's the table of data for Anne and me. It says we have 11 segments. It lists the chromosome number, the start and the end, and the number of centimorgans of each segment. That's the data that I'm going to put into DNA Painter. So I copy all of that data, and I now go over to my DNA Painter profile. Up here in the top where I've circled, I can paint a new match. I click that box, and up comes a box that allows me to put in the data that Anne and I share. And so here's the paint a new match box where I filled in the data. Because I know how Anne and I are related, I'm going to use the Save Match Now button. If I were painting Joe and I don't know how we're related, I will most likely go the Preview These Segments box to look over the data and see what's going on. So when I click Save Match Now, it brings up this page. I know how Anne and I are related, so I'm going to leave the red box checked. I fill in her name here, so I know whose DNA it was. I add a group name, and I'm going to use the common ancestor, Jacob Wolf and Anna Brill, that the two of us share. I pick maternal because that's the side of my family it is. And DNA Painter suggests a color pink. If I want to change the color, I would click on that arrow next to the color, and it would bring up a box that allows me to pick various different colors that I might want to use. I'm going to leave it at pink, and I'll scroll down the page and save the match. And here's my profile now that I've painted the DNA that Anne and I share. Over on the lower right, you can see the beginning of the key that identifies all the groups that have been painted. And here's Jacob Wolf and Anna Brill, and that's the name of the group for the data that Anne and I share. This has just been a short introduction. To get further information, you can look at the DNA Painter help page. There are frequently asked questions there, as well as a glossary, and detailed instructions, and webinars on DNA Painter that have been presented are also linked there. Another useful help source is to join the DNA Painter user group on Facebook. So in summary, this presentation has shown how to copy a known match from MyHeritage and paste it into your DNA Painter profile. And it's also described how to interpret that little oval at the end of the match's name that tells you it's a triangulated match and how to go about using that. Thank you for your attention. I hope this has been useful for you. If you'd like to contact me, I'm at patriciacolemangenealogy.com, or you can find me on Facebook, where I'm a moderator for DNA Painter user group and also for the Genetic Affairs user group.